The True Power of Mystical Numbers. Part 1. Are numbers really just human inventions? Have you ever thought about this? Why numbers seem to show up everywhere in the universe? In the paths planets follow through space, in the rhythms of music that somehow feel exactly right, even in certain moments in your life that keep repeating themselves. At first glance, these things seem unrelated, but they all follow the same underlying rule: numbers. But here's the real question. What if numbers aren't just symbols humans created to calculate things? What if they're actually a language the universe uses to function? We're taught how to use numbers to measure, compare, and predict. But almost no one ever tells us this. Numbers influence how you feel. They shape the choices you make, and they quietly set the rhythm of your entire life. So, why do some people hit major turning points at very specific ages? Why do certain numbers keep showing up for you? 1111, 333, 777, again and again. Is that really just coincidence, or could it be a kind of guidance system? You were never taught how to read. In this video, we're not talking about superstition, and we're not here to do fortune telling. Instead, we're getting closer to a truth that ancient civilizations talked about again and again, but modern society has largely chosen to ignore. Numbers aren't just something you notice. They've been influencing you all along. So if you're willing, set aside what you think you already know about numbers, because you might be about to realize something important. Your life has never been randomly arranged. Part 2. The Origin of Numbers. What is the universe? Calculating. Before you ever learned how to count, numbers already existed. Before language, before writing, before human consciousness itself. The universe was already running on an incredibly precise order. Think about it. Why don't planets crash into each other? Why does light travel at a fixed speed? Why do the same proportions and patterns keep showing up all across nature? That's not coincidence. And it's not just how things are. All of it points to the same conclusion. The universe has structure, and structure requires numbers to hold it together. If numbers were only symbols invented by humans, nature wouldn't need to follow them at all. But what we see is the opposite. Nature follows numerical relationships naturally. Take the golden ratio, 1.618. You see it in sunflowers, in seashells, in spiral galaxies, even in the proportions of the human body. No one designed that. Nature simply grows that way. And that tells us something important. The universe uses proportion to maintain balance, stability, and what we experience as beauty. Music works the same way. When a melody sounds good to you, it's not just taste or cultural conditioning. It's math. Stable frequency ratios between sounds feel good to your nervous system. An octave, 2-to-1. A fifth, 3-to-2. A fourth, 4-to-3. Your body relaxes when it hears these relationships. That's why ancient thinkers said the universe is written in music. They weren't being poetic, they were being precise. Modern science actually starts from 2-to-1, a very similar assumption. Reality isn't made of solid things. It's made of waves, cycles, and frequencies. Your heartbeat, your brain waves, your sleep rhythms, all of them are numbers in motion. So when ancient civilization said all things are number, they weren't being mystical for fun. They were describing an invisible order with the only language they had. What's strange isn't how they saw the world. What's strange is how we see it now. We accept numbers that can be monetized instantly, but dismiss numbers that help explain consciousness itself. And now something interesting is happening. Psychology, neuroscience, artificial intelligence, quantum research, all of them are circling back to patterns, cycles, and structure. This isn't a step backward, it's a return. Part 3. Numbers aren't symbols, they're frequencies. If numbers were just symbols, they wouldn't affect how you feel. But they do, all the time. When a rhythm is steady, you naturally relax. When a rhythm is chaotic, you feel restless, irritated, sometimes even anxious, like you want to get away. That's not psychological suggestion, it's biology, because your body itself is a vibrational system. In esoteric philosophy, numbers were never treated as abstract ideas. They were understood as stabilized patterns of vibration. A single number is a rhythm. A sequence of numbers is a combination of frequencies, and when a frequency can sustain itself, structure appears. That's why music, architecture, rituals, and mantras all rely on repetition and proportion. Repetition strengthens vibration. Proportion keeps it stable. You're not being controlled by numbers. You're resonating with a rhythm. You might think you're simply seeing numbers, but on a deeper level, something else is happening. Your state of consciousness is becoming sensitive to certain frequencies. Part 4. How do numbers shape your personal energy field? The truth is, numbers influence you every single day, whether you notice it or not. Take a simple countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Before anything even happens, your heart rate speeds up. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your focus locks in. What changes your state isn't the event itself. It's how numbers compress the rhythm of time. Now think about fixed schedules. When someone starts work at 8, eats at 12, and clocks out at 6 every day, their emotions, creativity, and even physical responses become highly predictable. It's not that they become lazy, it's that their energy has been conditioned by numerical rhythms. That's also why, the moment many people step outside a rigid routine, they suddenly feel lost. Without those numbers telling them when to act, they're no longer sure who they are. Major turning points in life often show up around certain ages, too. That's not coincidence. When a cycle completes, the structure begins to reorganize. Numbers don't decide what will happen to you. They simply open windows where change becomes easier to take place. Part 5. Repeating numbers. Coincidence or a signal? When you start noticing numbers, they often begin showing up more and more. 1111.333, 777. But the real question isn't what they're supposed to mean. It's this: why are you noticing them now? Psychology tells us that when someone is going through a major transition, their awareness becomes especially sensitive to repeating patterns. This isn't imagination, and it isn't illusion. It's your brain searching for direction and looking for reassurance. In esoteric philosophy, repeated numbers aren't predictions, they're markers. They mark that something in you is changing. They mark that old structures are starting to loosen. They're not here to tell you the future. They're quietly saying, you've already arrived at this point. Part 6. Why do so many people feel more confused after studying numbers? Because they're asking the wrong questions. They rush to ask things like, is this number good or bad? Is it unlucky? Am I being blocked by it? But numbers aren't verdicts. They're not here to judge you. Numbers describe where you are, not what will happen. They're more like a weather forecast. They tell you the conditions are changing, but they don't decide your destination. The real issue was never the numbers. It's whether you paused long enough to observe yourself first. When you stop rushing for answers and start clearly seeing the phase of life you're actually in, numbers naturally fall back into their proper place. Part 7. How do you begin to sense your numerical energy? You don't need formulas, and you don't need to memorize meanings. Just focus on 3 simple things. First, record. Don't interpret. When a number shows up, note the time, how you were feeling, and what was happening around you. Second, observe rhythm. Don't chase answers. Pay attention to when things feel smooth and when they feel blocked or heavy. Third, trust your body's response. Relaxed or tense, your body usually knows before your mind catches up. When you start approaching numbers this way, they stop creating anxiety. They turn into a quiet kind of guidance, gently showing you when to move forward, when to adjust, and when to slow down and listen to yourself. Closing. Numbers are doors, not answers. If you've made it this far, you may have already realized something important. Numbers were never meant to give you answers. They won't tell you whether you should succeed or fail, whether you should keep going or stop. They show up at certain moments, not to tell you where to go, but to remind you you're no longer standing where you used to be. Numbers aren't judges of destiny. They're more like doors. A door doesn't push you forward. It doesn't choose for you. It simply stands there quietly, making you aware. There's another possibility here. When you stop rushing to interpret numbers, when you stop trying to find certainty through external systems, something very quiet, but very important, begins to happen. What's changing was never the numbers. It's you. So the next time a number catches your attention, pause for a moment and ask a different question. Not, what does this mean? But, what am I experiencing right now? If you're willing to look at it this way, you'll start to notice something else too. The universe has never been giving you orders. It has simply been conversation with you all along. And now, you're finally beginning to listen. If you wish to add a touch of gentleness to your energy space, I've placed some lovely items in the description waiting for you. If these words resonate with where you are in your life right now, the next stage of exploration is already waiting for you.